Hello and welcome to my channel. Your girl is back with an interesting video, but before we get into the video, please do subscribe to my channel. Let's get the channel to 20k before December. With that said, let's quickly get into the video. In this video, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu shares Israel's clear position regarding the ceasefire. Listen carefully to what he says in this video, and when I get back, we talk more about why he's being called out. Here's the video.
I want to make clear Israel's position regarding a ceasefire. Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terror attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war. This is a time for a war for our common future. Today we draw a line between the forces of civilization and the forces of barbarism. It is a time for everyone to decide where they stand. Israel will stand against the forces of barbarism until victory.
Now, if you listen to his speech clearly, you will agree with me that he used the Bible to court. Now, my question is, why would he use the Bible to court and not the Torah? It's like he's trying to get Christians to be on his side, because he knows that if he says Bible, the Christians are going to wonder to say, we're the same, but we're not. We're different. I mean, Jews are Jews and Christians are Christians. Then in his speech, he brings up the Bible and quoting to say it says this, but why not mention the Torah? Jews don't use Bibles. I also need answers, and not that this video is just for educational purpose only. So let's check out these videos and hear what others had to say about this.
Israeli people are the only fucking people I've ever heard of that say Bible when they mean Tanakh. You are the only ones. Why is that important? Because Netanyahu was not addressing you. He was not talking to Israeli people or Israel. He was talking to Americans. This man is a politician. He's been a politician for a long time. He's media prepped within an inch of his fucking life. Every word out of his mouth has been painstakingly crafted by a team of people whose livelihoods depend on making him sound precisely the way that he needs to, depending on who's listening. And who is listening? America. In America, when you say the Bible, you mean the Christian Bible. There is no if, and, or but in this situation. Like, that's what that means here. He knows that. That is why he chose that word. Because the word Bible means that we have something in common. I know I'm a Jewish person. I know America doesn't like Jews, but listen, Bible? He knows that that word will get the attention of veterans, Christians, undecided voters, people who aren't educated enough to make an informed decision on this subject. So now they're all listening to him. And what is the next thing he said in that speech? 9/11, Pearl Harbor. He was talking to Americans, and he was doing a damn good job.
Wait, what? What Bible, buddy? You're Jewish. Did you forget that? You guys don't have Christ. We believe in the Jesus Christ that you guys crucified. You guys are still waiting for the Jesus Christ that you guys, I don't know whose Jesus are you guys waiting for. But anyways, my point is, you're Jewish. Like, you're using all these speech, all these sentences, all these words just to justify how much love are you sending to Gaza. You're trying to justify the lovely actions, all the hope you're sending to Gaza. Buddy, what Jesus? Are you Jewish? You're Jewish, man. Imagine next thing this guy says, oh, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said we have to protect the mu'mineen and fight all the kuffar. Death to America, death to the infidel, just like what his name said, the dictator. Buddy, what Jewish? What Christ, I mean, what Bible? You're contradicting yourself. You're making a joke. That was a joke. Actually, that was a nice joke. I like it. Keep going, buddy. You're a good comedian. You're a bad politician.
Okay, two things. I gotta make this fast because I just left class to make this video. The other thing, my accent is fucked up. My accent is switching between Hebrew and English. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Netanyahu just made a speech, like I said, it's fucking disgusting. It's abhorrent, as is to be expected at this point. And he said, in the Bible, there's a time for peace and a time for war. So like Israel, no ceasefire. We're not gonna do it. You know, we're not gonna stop until we defeat Hamas. Like, why did I put a ch on it? See, this is what I'm talking about. And of course, in reference to Palestinian people, he said words like barbarism. Why did he say Bible instead of Torah? We don't do Bible, we do Torah. Like, that's the whole thing. Because he's pandering. He's pandering. He needs to garner as much possible support from like English-speaking Christian countries and people as possible. And he knows that your average American citizen is not going to listen. When you say the word Torah, like, they're out. They don't want to hear about Jewish people. They don't want to hear you speak Hebrew. They want to hear what they understand, and what they understand is Bible, Christianity. But Garage Gremlin, the books both come from the same— shut up, I know. He's doing it on purpose. He's doing it on purpose. All of the language that he's using is very fucking intentional. If it wasn't, he would have referred to our own holy book and not somebody else's.
Exactly. It's pandering to the Christians. The grand majority of Zionists across the globe are Christian. And when I say the grand majority, I mean like double the amount of the Jewish population around the world. There's like an estimated like around 30 million Christian Zionists, and the Jewish population is like 16 million. They don't want to hear about the Torah. They want to hear about the Bible. Like, as soon as he said Bible, I was like, yep, I had a feeling. And remember, a lot of those Christian Zionists, in fact, most of them, only support Israel because they want all Jews. Like, do you see how insane this is?
Fighting.
We will turn Gaza into a parking lot. The focus is on destruction, not accuracy. These are human animals and they will be dealt with as. This is a war between the children of light and children of darkness. There are no innocent civilians in Gaza. These are just a few examples of quotes from Israeli officials. In the clip I just played, Netanyahu called the Palestinian people Amalekite. What's especially disturbing to me about this is that he's using God to justify what he's doing, what they're doing over there, to all of those poor innocent people. You see, in 1 Samuel 15:3, God tells the Israelites to go and kill every man, woman, child, and infant in Amalek. And now the Prime Minister of Israel is calling for a live enactment. Fuck birthright. Free Palestine.
It's happening again. Religious extremism. There's even this one fanatic extremist leader who is using religious texts in order to justify the mass killing of other people. Why did he equate Palestinians to the Amaleks? The Amaleks are the Jews' ancient enemies. And in the Bible, there's a green light to kill their men, women, and babies. That's right. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the terror state of Israel, is using biblical texts in order to call for the mass murder of Palestinians. This isn't the first time that Zionism uses religious texts in order to radicalize and call for the murder of Palestinians. In fact, this is how they justify even existing. Even though most Zionists are actually atheists, they're just using these religious texts as weapons in order to justify their oppression of Palestinians. And guess what? Ultra-Orthodox Jews and rabbis who actually know the Torah know that the creation of the State of Israel and Zionism is against God's will. This isn't new for Western empires and colonialist projects. Have we forgotten how Bush practically waged another crusade by saying God told me to kill 1 million innocent Iraqis?
June 2003, then President Bush reportedly having claimed that God told him to go. Mr. Bush reported as having said, quote, God would tell me, George, go and fight those.
So, the next time someone says religious extremism, remind them that it's usually Muslims who are victims of religious extremism, unlike the picture that mainstream media is always trying to paint. Free Palestine.
So by now we've all seen the video or the tweet of Netanyahu invoking the Amalek in the Bible to rile his soldiers up. Unalive their men, unalive their women, unalive the children and suckling infants, the goats, the sheep, the men. And everyone's like, oh my God, how could he say that? But the real question is, why would he invoke the battle that lost Saul his kingship? There are so many battles in the Old Testament to choose from. The book of Joshua to Judges to Samuel 1 to Samuel 2. And he chose the one battle that drove God to dethrone Israel's first king. Because right after this line in 1 Samuel chapter 15, when God commands Saul and his army to do these things, they go out, they attack the Amalekites, but they don't unalive every last one of them. They let the king, Agag, live, and they keep the best of the sheep and the goats to sacrifice and eat. And as soon as this happens, God calls on his trusted prophet after whom the book is named, Samuel, and he goes, Saul has disobeyed me. I regret I ever made him king. He has turned away from me and not carried out my instructions. So Samuel's like, okay, I got you. I'll relay the message. When Prophet Samuel goes out to see Saul, Saul is like, Samuel, what's up? What do you think of my carrying out of the instructions of the Lord? And Saul is like, are you kidding me? Why do I hear the bleat of sheep, the moos of cattle? And Saul is like, oh, that's just some of the good stuff from the Amalekites that my soldiers brought back. We decided to just spare the best of everything they had to sacrifice to Mono Daddy and to eat. He totally destroyed everything else. Saul just keeps going on and on like this till Samuel gets fed up. And he's like, just stop, okay? The Lord appointed you king, did he not? He brought you out of nothing, turned you from zero to hero. And he said, destroy them all. Destroy all their animals. And you're out here disobeying him, sacrificing their animals to him? The audacity. And this is really important, okay? Because if there's one thing you can learn about God, Yahweh, Allah, it's that what he wants from you isn't sacrifices, and it isn't prayer, and it isn't really anything specific. He wants obedience. If you want God on your side, then you will obey. Samuel explains this to Saul when he tries to defend himself. In verse 22, Samuel says, to obey is better than sacrifice. To heed is better than the fat of rams. Saul is like, all right, okay, I sinned, whatever, I'm sorry, khalas, yallah, let's just go home. But Samuel won't go home with Saul. Samuel says, I'm not going anywhere with you, okay? You rejected the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king. From then on, Saul essentially just spirals into madness because God won't answer him anymore, won't answer his questions, won't answer his prayers. When he finds out that David is going to be the next king because his sons aren't allowed to be kings anymore, he just totally loses it, keeps trying to unalive David over and over. But to go back to our main character, Bibi, I have two theories, okay? Either one, he knows that this is a losing battle, and he is going to, in the end, tell us that, well, like King Saul, I was prophesied to fall. I was prophesied to be brought down. Or, and this is probably more likely, Mans just doesn't know the book because he's not religious in any way. Nothing he does reflects anything in the Jewish practice. Maybe it's a secret third thing. I don't know. Maybe he's just playing a game. But what do you think? Did Bibi just write his and his army's own downfall in that announcement?
Darkness. I'm happy to respond. I completely agree with Netanyahu. The light will triumph over the darkness. He's just a bit confused as to what represents light and darkness. He's one of the darkest minds on the world stage right now. He dares quote prophecy. I'll give him prophecy. It says in the Tanakh, thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, you who yourself strangers in Egypt. And what Netanyahu has devoted his career to is oppressing the other. And he dares prattle on about light. What we're witnessing there, and with Netanyahu, it's like with many other politicians, turn off the sound. Just listen to their body language. What you're seeing there is a person so alienated from his humanity, so committed to his ego, that, as they say in Hungarian, whatever he says, not even the opposite is true. It's so false, not even the opposite is true. And yeah, Bibi, the light will triumph, despite whatever you can do. And you have a lot of power to impose a lot of suffering, and you will, because that's your nature. That's what you committed to.
Netanyahu goes all biblical, all Old Testament. Hitherto better known for his partying lifestyle, he has become born again, and the Old Testament is being dusted down and inadequately, incompletely quoted, all to cloak what is a biblical marker, what is a pestilence, famine and disease being visited on the inhabitants of a concentration camp, 2.2 million of them, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, all around and from the sea and the sky. Death is being delivered to the refugees in the Gaza Strip, people to whom Israel owes a legal obligation to protect them, people of whom the United Nations has a legal obligation to protect them. But nobody is protecting them. The slaughter of the innocents being cut down like daisies as they mow the lawn in Gaza is well underway. And frankly, if you're still supporting the murder of nearly 3,500 children in less than 30 days, you need locking up. You should be on a register somewhere, not sitting in government, in parliament, on the bench at the Guardian, or in a television studio. You've come to the right place if you want to hear the truth about Israel-Palestine, with some of the best guests, some of the best calls, and if I may say so, what's going to be a powerful monologue by yours truly. Oh, and by the way, I'm probably running to be Mayor of London. More of that also soon. It's the mother of all talk shows. Stay tuned.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected growing calls for a ceasefire in Gaza until all of more than 240 hostages captured by militant Palestinian group Hamas during its October 7 attacks are returned. There will be no ceasefire without the return of the hostages. This should be completely removed from the lexicon. Now, he told crews at the Raman Air Force Base in southern Israel are reiterating the government's long-standing position. We say this to our friends and to our enemies. We will simply continue until we defeat them. We have no alternative. Foreign ministers from Qatar, Saudi, Egypt, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates met U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Amman, Jordan on Saturday and urged him to persuade Israel to agree to a ceasefire. Now, Blinken in the region for a second time in less than a month as part of U.S. efforts to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from spreading has rejected ceasefire calls. Blinken said a ceasefire would only allow Hamas to regroup, but has been trying to convince Israel to agree to location-specific pauses that would allow much-needed aid to be distributed within Gaza. Now, according to Gaza health officials, more than 9,770 Palestinians have been unalived in the current war. Israel's prime minister went on to say that those calling for one are in effect calling for Israel to surrender to terrorism, quoting a verse from the biblical scripture of Ecclesiastes. Now, he told the crowd there is time for peace and time for war. Now, the White House appeared to echo the call with National Security Council spokesperson telling reporters they don't believe that a ceasefire is the right answer right now. We do not support a ceasefire at this time. Now, the National Security Council spokesperson clarified that the U.S., however, support humanitarian pauses in the fighting to allow aid to be delivered uninhibited and to allow for the safe passage of Palestinian civilians in Gaza and for the secure transfer of hostages. Now, Israel has faced increasing calls for a ceasefire in their war against Hamas in Gaza in recent days, and a United Nations resolution calling for a ceasefire with no mention of Hamas passed with an overwhelming majority. Now, in an apparent reference to the countries pushing Israel to initiate a ceasefire, the Prime Minister said Israel will stand against the forces of barbarism until victory. I hope and pray that civilized nations everywhere will back this fight. Israel's fight is your fight, because if Hamas and Iran's axis of evil win, you will be their next target. He continued to say that's why Israel's victory is your victory, but make no mistake, regardless of who stands with Israel, Israel will fight until this battle is won and Israel will prevail. Now let's hear how other people took this issue in the comments and just hear what they had to say about what the Prime Minister said. Now this one says, just fight and leave us out of it. Tired of our men and women and tax dollars going overseas. He is raging his war with our tax dollars. If you are trying to stop Hamas and terror, who's to stop your and destruction? What's the answer? It's your ego. The Bible doesn't talk about unaliving people and crime. Use your Tanakh and stop using the Bible to misinterpret what is said. Alright guys, we have come to the end of the video. Make sure to share your own thoughts on this. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.